Alrighty, let's talk about understanding the process of rehabbing a property. This is one of the skills that you're gonna get once you become a real estate investor. You're gonna do it one time, two times, three times, and then eventually it's gonna become second nature to where you know exactly what you're going to do with each single family flip. Every single flip is gonna have a different order depending on the property. You're gonna see different scenarios, okay? Some properties are gonna be just a light rehab. So for example, let's say you want to do a paint job on the property and it doesn't need flooring, then that means you're going to have to cover, correct? You're going to have to cover everything. Now, let's say that a different scenario, it's a full rehab. One of the last things you want to do is installing the flooring, right? So you want to paint prior. You don't have to cover anything, and then just have the floor at the very last, and then have the painter come back and finish the job, just complete the touch-ups. But again, every single process is going to be completely different based on the property. And you're going to have multiple properties, multiple scenarios where every single one of them is going to be different. However, you're going to be able to understand the process as soon as you walk into the property, as soon as you understand what's going on, what's the situation, you're going to be able to define what's going to be the best thing to do. Now, one of the things I want you to keep in mind is I want you to have one of the documents I'm going to provide to you is I want you to have this document every time you go to a property, because you're going to be doing a property inspection on your own. The property inspection is basically, is the roof good? Is the AC good? Are the floorings outdated? Do they need to be updated? Windows, what about the windows, doors, and so on, okay? This is going to help you determine what exactly you need to do depending on your market. If you're trying to rent a property, for example, you just want to do something light. You just want to paint it, just have it average, livable, comfortable. So somebody comes in and then you made a small investment on the property, but you're going to have returns on the property, big returns, great returns. Now, let's say that you bought the property super cheap and you want to rehab the property, sell the property and get some capital, then that means you might want to do as much as you can, which one of the most important things in a single family flip is going to be the bathroom and the kitchen. Those are the two primary things that you want to focus on, okay? Let's say that you just, for example, you put vinyl flooring on the house, which I personally don't like vinyl flooring, but you do a really good job in the kitchen. The property is going to sell. Why? Because when a first-time home buyer, which is your main buyer, comes into the property and looks at the property, they're going to look at the kitchen. Literally, they're going to decide whenever they're buying the house, right at that moment when they're walking in and they're looking what the property looks like. So when you're focusing on single family flipping, for you to sell the property as soon as possible, you have to do a really good job on the kitchens and the bathrooms. Those are the primary things. Paints, of course, you want to do paint, but you don't want to focus so much on the paint or what exactly to change to your structure. You just want to focus on the things that come in to the eye as soon as the people walk in or the person walks in. Now, let's talk about the inspection of the property. So let's say that you were able to talk to the person, to the seller. You spoke to the seller and you were like, hey, seller, I want to ask you, what is the current condition of the house? Oh, the property, every single one of them is going to tell you that the property is in really, really good condition. So you ask them, oh, that's awesome. Let me ask you, when was the last time you did a major update? Or you can be more specific to have a better conversation. When was the last time, or how old is the AC? It's from 2015. Okay, 2015. All right. What about the roof? How old is the roof? Oh, the roof is original from when I bought the house. Let's say they bought the house back in 2010. So now you're getting somewhere, right? Now you're going to be able to understand what you need to do. What about the kitchen cabinets? Have you done anything to it? No, it's original from when the house was built. Now, the house was built in 1980. So you're like, oh, wow, I'm definitely going to have to do something about the kitchen, because now you know, now you understand that you're going to be able to have, now that you're going to have to update those things, okay? And it could be a different scenario for every single one opportunity. So now that the seller told you that the property was in really good condition, right? Everything is working. AC is all but it's working. The roof is all but it's working, and so on. The kitchen works perfectly, but then you look at it, the cabinets are falling apart. That's going to help you determine whenever you need to fix and work on those things or not. It's as simple as that. So that's one of the primary things when you're doing a property inspection. You're looking for issues so that you can fix them and evaluate how much they may cost you. You may not know right off the bat how much it's going to cost you to fix those things, right? But you can always ask anybody. You can always ask anybody from the team so that we can help you. Or you can always ask a contractor to go with you to look at the property and review how much it's going to take for them to be able to fix the property for you, in your behalf. They're going to be able to tell you that estimate. You want to know specifically by looking for things you need to work on the property. Okay, you want to be specific on that. What exactly do I need to work on? How's the plumbing? Oh, no issues. It works perfectly. And then you look at the water, make sure the water is running, make sure everything's good. Electrical. Has there anything electrical being updated in the house? No, the house is completely original. You may need to look at the electrical box. Is it outdated? Is it updated? See, those are things you want to look at. What exactly you need to work on in order to make this property fully repaired in order to sell it to a new buyer, somebody who's going to come in and live in the property and have their inspection pass every single point so that you can sell the property and go to the next one. By doing this, by doing the inspection on the property, you're going to be able to estimate the cost. Okay, now let's say that you don't know the current cost, but I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you look at the windows and maybe over half of them are broken. Okay, but they have regular dimensions, right? The average dimensions. That means that, so just from my experience, every window with average dimensions can average from $200 to $250. And let's say the house has 13 windows. So you do the math, right? You want to, okay, is it worth it to just change half of them, or is it worth it to change all of them? Because it's going to be the same price for the contractor to install it. Okay, so I definitely have to change the roof. The roof seems outdated. The roof is old. Definitely you need to put money into the roof and change it. How much is it going to cost me? Call a roofer. Just call a roofer. Hey, I want a quick estimate of how much this is going to cost me. I want to know so that I can repair this and see how repair it. But this is going to be for me to flip the property. You let them know because they'll give you a small discount when they know that you may be able to bring more business in the future for them. So you let them know right away. The roof, the AC, call an AC guy. Like, okay, this property is going to need 3 tons because the property has over 1,400 square foot, or maybe 2.5 tons because the property is 1,200 square foot, or maybe it's just going to be a 2 ton because it's 1,000 square feet or less than 1,000 square feet, and so on. This is going to help you determine from that moment on to calculate averagely how much is going to cost you each of these bigger items, because those are the bigger items. It's going to be the roof, and it's also going to be the AC. After that, it's going to be the kitchen, the bathrooms, flooring, and so on. But those are the things that you want to do. That's why you want to go do a property inspection on your own, right? On your own, so that you get an idea of what are the things that you need to work on in order to get those quotes and estimate how much it's going to cost you to truly flip the property. Now, here's the other thing. When you're getting these estimates, I want you to start memorizing them. I want you to start remembering what they look like. Why? Because now you're going to get into the specifics of knowing how much it's going to cost you to change each item. Now you don't have to do it's a full rehab, $50 per square feet, $40 per square feet. This is just a shit code that I use in order to be able to calculate how much it's going to cost me. Now, sometimes, actually, now that I know specifically how much each item is going to cost me, now I know that either way, I make my calculations for $50 a square foot, even though in reality it's only going to cost me $35 a square feet. That's because now I'm using that cushion for extra gains. Okay, so you still want to do the quick math, the $50 per square feet, $40 per square feet, however you want to do it, depending on your area. But you definitely want to make sure that you start memorizing and remembering how much each item is going to cost you, because it's not going to change very much. So for example, for me to be able to get a new AC, a 3-ton unit AC is probably going to cost me anywhere between $7,000 to $9,000, depending on the house. A roof, I know if the roof is about 1,000 square feet, okay, or maybe the space itself is 1,000 square feet, maybe it's only going to cost me $7,000 to change the roof. So now I know specifically how much it may cost me, but either way, I do the math where I'm putting these expenses as big as possible and then be able to calculate my profits. Okay, so this is something that you always want to do. This is something you always want to remember. Memorize the costs so you can evaluate them and be able to make better decisions when you're buying the property. Okay, now let's talk about prioritizing the repairs. So when you make a list, okay, when you make a list, you need to know where the bigger ticket items, right? And those bigger ticket items are the ones that you're gonna have to work first. Okay, for example, if the roof is in bad condition, those are one of the first things you must work on. Let's say you have a budget, okay? This is very important. Let's say that you have a budget on the property, but you were not thinking that you needed to repair the roof. This happens. Sometimes it happens. That's why every time I make an offer, I do the overall math, $50 per square feet, $40 per square feet, because that way I have some cushion, okay? But let's say that you were not thinking you needed to replace the roof, but it turns out that you need to. Now what you do is you prioritize the roof, because the roof is going to be one of the main inspections that needs to pass in order for you to be able to sell the property to a new first-time home buyer. Okay, now that you prioritize the roof, you need to change some other items that you were thinking of doing. Let's say you wanted to make a high-end looking kitchen. Now don't do that anymore. Now you need to change the plan and have something basic. Maybe instead of the kitchen costing you $13,000, it can only cost you $9,000 or $8,000. Okay, so you minimize the risk and you minimize the investment that you need to do in order to have the equal gains that you first thought you needed. Same thing with the AC. Let's say that you did not think the AC was going to go wrong because it was just 5 years old, 6 years old, but something's going on, something's happening, and it's not working properly. Do that. You need to do that, because those are the things that, again, the inspectors for the first-time home buyers are going to be looking at. It's going to be water. It's going to be electricity. It's going to be the AC, and it's going to be the roof. Those are the main things an inspector is going to look for when they're doing a home inspection for the first-time home buyers. Okay, those are the primary things that needs to be approved in order for these people to get a loan and be able to buy the property from you. So always prioritize the expenses that you're going to have on a house, depending on what you need to work on. Now, for the most part, if it's going to be a single family flip in a really good area where a lot of properties are selling, 30 days, 40 days, whatever it is, I want you to keep in mind that you need to look into the current properties that sold just a few months ago and implement something very similar, because now you know the property is selling. The property is selling, and it looks with vinyl flooring, gray vinyl flooring, or gray paint, and so on. Okay, so repeat that so that you fully rehab the property and you know you're going to be able to sell the property and make really good gains. But again, going back to you prioritize the repairs and you keep it very similar to what's actually selling around the market. That's how you're going to be able to be successful, by repeating what others are doing in the area. Now, create a detail plan. So even though this is going to be your first time doing a flip, we're here to help you, okay? I want you to know that. I want you to understand that we're going to be here to help you with the process. However, either way, you need to create your own plan. You need to create your own plan on what exactly you're going to be doing in order to rehab the property. So let's go back to this again. Number one, the roof is going to be prioritized. It's going to be one of the main things. Number two, AC, make sure the AC is working. Number three, then focus on cosmetics. Okay, cosmetics, how the property looks like. You create a plan with your contractor, right? Let's say you're going to be working with a contractor. I want you to work with contractors. This is when you ask of them to give you an estimated time of how long it's going to take for them to rehab the property based on what it needs to be done. It creates a plan, a detailed plan that they're going to give you, that they're going to turn around and give it back to you to make sure that they commit to that plan. Mostly when I'm talking about the plan, I'm talking about the time frame that it's going to take for the property to be fully rehabbed and the order that they're going to do the rehab in. You need to know that, you need to understand that, because the more you start working with different contractors, the more specialized you're going to become and the faster you will be. You're going to run into some contractors that just recently got their license and they may not be 100% sure on what ideally will be the first step to doing a property. And it's completely normal, because a lot of us start that way. A lot of us start from zero. So it's not to judge anybody, it's just to let you know that you may run into one of them. They may become one of the best contractors you ever hire, but either way, you want to know a detailed plan. You want to know their detailed plan and be able to combine both and execute. So now that you plan everything, you just need to commit and be able to get this property fully rehab within the time frame. So these are the 5 items that you need to do, that you need to memorize in order to understand the process of rehabbing a property. Those are the 5 things that you need to work on and the 5 things that you need to remember every time you do it. All of this is going to become natural. All of this is going to become normal once you start doing it repetitively. And then you're going to be able to execute a lot faster, get better at your flips, and so on. Okay, so let's get into detail about the planning and what you need to do. Do a property assessment. So when you do the property assessment, basically when you're doing the property inspection on your own, that's when you do an evaluation of the property and you look at what the property is really good in, right? Maybe let's say the structure is really good, the flooring is really good, and then you look for the weaknesses. So basically, like I was telling you, the roof is too old, definitely needs to be replaced. The AC is too old, definitely needs to be replaced. So this way, you're gonna know exactly what you're gonna need to improve on. What areas of the property you're gonna have to improve in order to have good gains and make money. Number 2, the scope of work, which is basically that's when you create the detail plan and you outline the things that are necessary, mandatory for you to rehab, and the things that you are going to be focusing to do the upgrades. So for example, in this case, let's say you already had your budget, AC is good, roof is good, focus on the kitchen and the bathrooms, okay? Again, this is going to help you understand what exactly you're going to have to work on and what exactly is going to be the main thing that you want your contractor to do for you, to update for you. The timeline is also extremely important. So now that you have the property assessment and the scope of work of what you need to work on, now you need a timeline. So this is when you get your contractor to tell you how long it's going to take for them to finish the project. How do you make sure that they stick to their time? Make sure they have a clause on the contract that if they don't commit to return the property to you, I don't know, maybe $500 a day is going to be deducted from what it was originally signed for, that it was going to take for the property to finish, to rehab. I'm just giving you an idea, okay? And then define the goals. So this is for you and for the contractor to understand that everything needs to be finalized by a specific date. And these are the main things that you're going to be focused on, the kitchen and the bathroom. It's just an example that I'm giving you. You need to define the goals because let's say you look at the kitchen, you're not happy with the kitchen, you need to tell the contractor right off the bat, hey man, look, the kitchen is not what we spoke about. This is not what I told you to do. So by defining the goals, by knowing exactly what you want, you're going to make great things happen. Now, here's one thing that I do recommend. Keep in mind that these properties are not for you to live in, okay? These properties are investments. So anytime and every time you can save money, you should do it. So don't put the most expensive kitchen. Don't put the most expensive bathroom. You don't have to do none of that. Just make it nice, make it livable, make it clean, make it neat, but don't make it expensive for you, okay? Because this is what's going to help you budget. This is what's going to help you also save money on how much it's going to cost for you to rehab the property. And those are the things that you need to do in order to increase the chances for you to make more profits. So remember, this property is not for you. It's not for a family member. It's not for you to live in. It's not for one of your family members to live in. So make it very attractive, but don't put the things that you like. Put the things that are selling in the area. Imitate what the other guy's doing down the road on that property that just sold 30 days ago, 25 days ago. You want to make sure that you imitate that, okay? Because those are called market trends. You want to implement what they're doing because you'll know that the property is going to sell. And it's literally based on just marketing. So you want to repeat what the other guy is doing, okay? Don't make it high-end, okay? If it's in a C-class neighborhood, like I was telling you what a C-class neighborhood was, and then you put an A-class bathroom that you only see in mansions or or really nice neighborhoods is not going to increase the value of the home by a whole lot. It's not. And the expenses are definitely going to be a whole lot higher than what you thought they were going to be. So budgeting, creating a budget for the property that you're going to be rehabbing, it's extremely important because this is going to help you understand how much financial resources you're going to need in order to complete the project. So number one is going to be cost estimation. This is when you get a contractor or multiple contractors to give you a quote on how much it's going to cost you for you to fix this property or for them to fix this property. So you need the estimation of how much money it will cost so that you know right off the bat how much it may cost you, okay? Contingency fund is basically a worst case scenario that you have in plan. So basically like extra money that you have there as a backup just in case you go a little bit over budget. So usually it's 10%. So whatever you estimated that the rehab was actually going to cost you based on the estimates that the contractors gave you, add another 10% on there, okay? Just to make sure, just to be on the safe side, just to be comfortable, because this is how you mitigate risk. And then prioritize the expenses. We talked about this already. This is extremely important because, again, sometimes some things do come up and you want to make sure that the most important things that you have to work on, you do them first. And here are some things that we have to consider, okay, when you're getting your first flip and you're working on the project. The cost estimation. So determine the cost associated with each aspect of the project. So basically, each project is going to be completely different. That's including the materials. You're going to need different materials for different houses. The labor, so you may need to bring a lot more people to work on one project than what you need on the other project. Permits and professional services required. Now, the permits is basically, for example, let's say you want to make a window wider, bigger, right? You may need a permit depending on the city, but who's going to do that for you is going to be the contractor, right? Who's going to do AC change out, roof change out? Those are going to be the professionals, the roofer and a guy working on the AC company or something like that, okay? But those are based on them. You just have to follow up. Now, you want to obtain multiple quotes to ensure the accuracy because sometimes, and it has happened to me multiple times in the past, especially when I first started, that one group of people were charging me maybe $3,000 less than the competition. And it adds up. It completely adds up. 3,000, you may not think it's a lot of money, but when you're doing a flip, 3,000 could be a lot of money that you can get additional in your pocket. So you wanna get multiple quotes until you start working with people, right? And even after working with a group of people, you still want to get multiple quotes. Why? Because sometimes when you work with the same contractor for multiple projects, now instead of them lowering or giving you a small discount, they actually start charging you even more money. For some reason, they do it backwards instead of, oh, okay, this guy's bringing me a lot more money, a lot more projects. I'm gonna give him a discount. It doesn't work like that. It's the other way around. The more projects you do with one person, the more money they want to charge you. Okay, so always remember that. Always keep that in mind. So always get multiple quotes to have accuracy of how much it's going to cost you for you to flip the property, or for them to flip the property for you. Because sometimes we're talking about, I was just giving you one example on the roof, but when we're talking about a whole project, sometimes we're talking about $10,000 to $15,000 difference for somebody or a different company to do a single family flip for you. Okay, so we're talking about big chunks of money, and you want to make sure that you get accuracy. How do you do that? By getting multiple quotes and so on. Contingency fund, 20% is just for you to be on the safe side, but 10% is going to be ideal. It's going to be really good. So always keep that in mind. Always do 10-20%, however you want to do it, but keep it there as an expense already. Okay, because that 10%, 20%, on the repair cost alone, I'm talking about just the repairs alone, not on the purchase of the property, none of that, just on the repairs. That 10%, 20% may be additional money that you may be able to make, okay, or get back, just to give you an example. So always keep that into consideration. It's extremely important that you can minimize the risk as much as possible and have bigger gains. But either way, you always have to have a contingency fund. something that just in case you may be able to need. Now, what are some of these scenarios? Sometimes it could be the plumbing, okay? Um, it could be the plumbing. That's probably one of the main ones. I'm not here to scare you. I'm just letting you know it happens very common. Depends on the area. Well, okay, depends a lot on the area. So for example, if you live on a cold area where there's snow and things like that, you want to make sure that you do a plumbing inspection to make sure everything's running well, because literally the cold or the frost is what can ruin a pipeline in an older house. If it's like, for example, in Florida, most of the time, if it's old plumbing, you won't have issues unless the person who was living in the property just started throwing garbage to the plumbing and so on. So it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So you need to keep that in mind, okay? Electrical work. Sometimes you finish a project, but it turns out you didn't check the lights. Some of them are not working properly. That means that you're gonna have to do something about that, okay? They may be able to have to break the walls, the drywall, in order to get into somewhere, be able to change cables and so on. So again, you always want to keep a 10%, 20% worst case scenario contingency fund in order for you to be on the safe side of the investment. You always want to make more, not be short, okay? So those are extremely things for you to consider. And then prioritize the expenses. Identify critical renovations that directly impact the property value or safety, and allocate a larger portion of the budget to these areas. And this is what I was telling you, that you never know what's going to happen on the property even after you buy the property. So you want to do a full inspection multiple times of the property. Even if the owner told you the roof was in really good condition, for example, you still want to check multiple times, even and before after the project has been completed, because this is one way of you prioritizing what's happening, okay? This is a way of you making sure that the investment that you're making, it's working the way that it's supposed to be working. Because if something comes up, all you need to do is just have a solution in place for whatever happens. The only way for that to happen is by you following up with your plan. And if something happens, then now you know you need to mitigate from here in order to fix this bigger item, okay? Extremely important that you always keep that in mind. As a real estate investor, you have to keep your mind open and you have to be very creative. Sometimes there's things that are going to happen in a single family home investment or whatever type of investment that you're doing that you were not expecting. But trust me, every single one of them has a solution as long as you calculate your risk. This is how you mitigate risk. You always want to keep them as low as possible by making the correct decisions. And how do you make the correct decisions? By doing the right planning. Keep this in mind, and I have no doubts in my mind you're going to be very, very successful. Take this into consideration for every single aspect that you can think of. Always keep it in mind. Make sure that you execute.